All right, I got a really great deal on a diesel heater, kind of half price. It was only 50 bucks to me. And I'm going to mount it in a box, a tub like this, so that it's kind of weatherproof for travel and stuff like that. Basically, it's going to have, a spot there that the out is going to go up to the tent. I'm going to have a door over the top of that. At this end, I'm going to cut it in and make an intake for the air to go into. And then this will be how it is in the actual box. I've got the actual heater itself mounted to the, I guess you kind of call it a heat shield, that piece of metal at the bottom. I just ran 4 bolts up from the bottom. These two were pretty tight and kind of hard to get at. This one especially, because of the way I decided to run my exhaust hose or pipe. I did this. Kind of made a little heat shield on there. And I'm running it out the corner, and I'm going to then attach, I think, a silicone high temperature pipe to that, and then I can get it out away from where I'm going to have this mounted. And then I'm just going to be able to hook up the 4-inch tube that's going to go up to the tent through there. I'm going to make a little door for that, so just kind of seal that off. And then on the other end, I've got a hole in it as it is, and then I've got this flange that's going to go in there. Alright, so I mounted this 4-inch flange, and basically that's going to be the air intake. I've got this, this is a 4-inch solid cap from the hardware store. I did have to do some heat gun warming up on it so that it would fit onto this, but now basically this is my cap that'll go onto here. I'll just get it on there good, there. And then that's going to stop dirt and everything from coming in there. But yet when I pop it off, it's going to have plenty of airflow. As far as power is concerned, I've just added this SAE connector on the end of the cord that came from the diesel heater, and I'm just going to connect that to a extension that's going to go to my cigarette lighter for now until I get the wiring done in the bed of the truck. So I bought an 8-foot section of this dryer vent type tubing, and I'll leave a link in the description below. And basically what I'm doing here is I'm just going to, basically it'll be just attached right here. The clamp is now, it's just a hose clamp. I just tighten that down a little bit with a quick screwdriver action, and then I can basically just run this up to my tent. Okay, I wanted to show the final results on my diesel heater packaging here. Basically, it's a standard. I think this is a Sterilite tub that I've gotten. I have a bunch of them around, and I have, of course, on this end is my air inlet, and I've got a plug or cover on the inside of that, so it doesn't get dust or moisture in there. Excuse me. On this end, I have the opening for the output. I haven't figured out a door quite yet, so I've got some packing foam, I guess you could say, pretty tightly packed in there. And then, of course, there's my exhaust outlet, and I'll show you why I've kind of gone to that corner in that way. So, on the inside now, I'm able to do everything I need for the diesel heater and all the packaging with it. I could keep it all in here in one place. So, basically, I've got the heater itself, nothing particularly different about this, and I do have the control unit taped, double stick taped on it. And then I keep the remote control just attached to it here so that I know where it is all the time. So this works great. You can do it from the inside the tent. Otherwise, in here, what I've got is this is my latest Y pipe that I did for in case I'm going to share some heat with somebody. I had one that was a little thicker and bigger, and it didn't fit in here very well. And it was a true Y, and we kind of found that the one that has the longest tube or hose going to that tent obviously would get less heat, so we thought maybe it wouldn't hurt to have the longer person have the straight through, and then the shorter one would get the wide off from that. It might help a little bit. I've used it once that way, and it seemed to maybe have evened it out a little bit. It's really hard to tell, but so this is in here. Related to that Y is this is a it was a 25-foot 4-inch, I guess they call it 4-layer tubing, and I've got a thumb screw already on it, and this is to be able to share the heat with somebody else. So this part is what goes to that. Related to that, down in here, I also have actually a piece from this 25 foot. It's like about a 2 foot section of this, and that's what would go on to the output of the diesel heater and goes to the Y pipe, so that we can split from there. So that fits pretty neatly down into here just right. Okay, also in the tub here with the heater, I do carry a few other things. I have a Phillips screwdriver that gets used to attach the basically, you could say the hose clamp. I can't do a thumb screw type one here because I can't get in there good enough, so I do carry this screwdriver to clamp that on. All the other connections are all thumb screws. This is the silicone hose that I got. It's like a couple feet long. It's good for 400 or 500 degrees, and it works great to get the basically I just add it onto here, and that gets the exhaust out a little ways from the tailgate. And I'll show you how this all goes on the tailgate in a minute. Also, kind of related, I just had a piece of wood. This is what kind of just holds that silicone exhaust tube into shape, or so it doesn't just sag down. Okay, at this end, I've got basically as I mentioned before, the wiring, just an SAE plug on it that I connect via a cigarette lighter type of 12-volt adapter to a battery. This is the plug that keeps the dust and air or moisture from coming in, and then this is the 8-foot section that I use that basically gets the heat from either the Y or the actual unit itself up to my closest tent, because this is on my tailgate. I only have 6 feet to go, so that's my 8-foot section there that holds it. So that shows how this tub contains everything I need, including if I'm sharing heat. So it's all worked out quite well that way. I don't have to find things or dig them out of other tubs or anything like that. I've got it all self-contained here. The only thing that's not in here is I carry 1.5 gallons of diesel fuel to refill the tank with. This is fairly typical of how it sits on the tailgate when it's being used, and this is kind of an explanation of why I've got the exhaust kind of coming out at a corner, because then then that silicone pipe can come out here and kind of be out away from the tent area itself enough. And the reason it's this long is that's long enough for that silicone pipe to fit on there, and then whenever it's in here, this is how the tailgate comes up to it. So I kind of fashioned it to specifically fit in here perfectly. You can also see there's my 1.5 gallons of diesel fuel, and it fits nice and tight right over there, so it works out pretty well. Alright, it got down to 25 last night. We ran the heater, and this is how the setup, how it looks. We've got everything's contained in that storage bin, and then in this case we did a Y, so we can go to 2 different tents. That one, and then this one just goes up there, just zipped into the opening, and we propped it up a little bit just to kind of make the direct airflow a little bit more straight. So I used a silicone pipe that I bought. I'll put a link in the description for my exhaust, just to get it out a ways from the tents and stuff. Works pretty good. So the actual noise you hear the most is actually out of the exhaust pipe. You can hear it down there the most. And then up at the actual unit inside here, deadens the sound a little bit, but you hear a little bit of the clicking from the fuel pump. Another bonus usage of your diesel heater, you can warm your muffin. Since it's a heat exchanger, there's no fumes or anything in the air. That in this end, it's all out the exhaust, so there's no problem with that. New use for the heater. So in the end, what is my opinion of using this diesel heater for heating the tent? It's working great. I've used it 3 times now. The first night that I used it, it got down to 25 degrees at night. My tent was like 60 degrees inside, so I was plenty warm, actually a little bit too warm. It could actually even be a little bit less powerful than it is. That was using it on low, and I did let it run all night. Another time I tried it, I just wanted to make sure how it was working. It only went down to 38 that night, and I was plenty warm. I was sharing it with Kurt. His got to 55 in his bigger tent. The first time I did it, I shared it with Sean, and his only got to like 45 in his tent because he had a 20, quite a distance of hose, and we had the Y a little bit differently. I think that would be a little bit taken care of now. It does work well. It almost works a little too well for me. I haven't had any instances of using it at high altitude. Everything I've had has been 4,000 feet and under, so it's worked great for that. Convenience-wise, it's a little bit less convenient, I would say, than a buddy heater. It might be a little bit safer because there's no combustion in the tent area. It's a heat exchanger, so the air that you have coming into your tent is just had nothing to do with the combustion chamber whatsoever. I guess one of the advantages is, in this case, the last 2 times I've used it, you can share the heat. To me, there was plenty, so I had no problems sharing the heat. You can't really do that with a buddy heater. It does cost more than a buddy heater. You can get a buddy heater for $70 for the middle one that most everybody buys, and then you're just buying some propane after that. This, I think they're like $120. Obviously, I got a deal on mine. It was basically the wrong item was shipped to my friend Mike, and instead of paying that shipping back, they just said if you'll keep it for $50. So that's what I bought it for. Plus the expense also of the accessories that go with it. I had to buy the 8-foot tube to get to my tent, and in this case, Sean chipped in, and we kind of bought the parts to share the heat with together. So I did buy that silicone exhaust. It does come with some exhaust if that works for you. I just kind of wanted to make it kind of more custom for me. So there was more expense to it. After that, I mean, it uses so little fuel that it's about a half a gallon a night, maybe a little bit more if I'm running on low all night long. So if it's above 35 degrees for the forecast at night, my plan really is to not run the heater, just run it maybe whenever I go to bed, and then use the remote control and crank it up in the morning. It's almost too much heat to run at that. If it's below 35, it might be helpful to run it all night. In the end, it makes for a pretty fun project to kind of put this together. You can use the unit as it is. It is somewhat weatherproof, but if it's you kind of want it out of the elements, or else it can basically suck in too much moisture or whatever. You don't want to use it in the elements as it is. That's why I went ahead and put it in the tub, and I had all those other parts that I needed to carry with, so that all worked out that it all is self-contained that way. But you don't have to do all that. You can just buy a diesel heater, and the ones that are self-contained like this, pour some gas in it, hook up a couple of the intake and exhaust type of things, and fire it up and go with some power connected to it. I still think a buddy heater is still a very viable option for heating on off-roading, overlanding. It works well. I probably, if you're doing it in an enclosed tent area, just keep a carbon monoxide sensor in there with you just to play it safe. I've not heard of any real true issues with that. It does have an oxygen sensor. It has a tip-over sensor, all that kind of stuff. But man, you just can't be too safe. And a carbon monoxide sensor is like $10 or so, and battery operated. You can just sit in the tent with you just to play it safe. I have a video, it'll be in the end cards here, of some of the stuff I've done in the past using the buddy heaters and the mod that I did with it that might be of interest for you too. Some of my gear and other projects I do on this channel, they're not necessary in any way, shape, or form. They're luxuries, they're glamping, they're that type of thing. But I do enjoy doing a project, and if I can do it thriftily, it's just kind of fun to do, and I like to share that with you as well. So in this case, my whole project cost in this is under $100, and I'll have links for all the other parts that I bought if you're interested in doing this similar situation in the description below. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button and subscribe. We'll see you on the trail.